What's up? What's up? It is Friday and it looks a little different. It's kind of dark in here. I turned off the light. What do you guys think? I am so excited you are here today. I'm assuming there's not as many of you here because this is the episode where I had the biggest blonde moment of my career and invited 650 people to the link for 7 a.m. So if you got to notice that we went live at 7 a.m., we were not live. We are here now. It's 3 p.m. Eastern. And I have a wonderful guest. I'm super excited to have you guys always know I'm so excited for the guests I bring on. I'm really just thankful that you all choose to come spend an hour with me and learn and laugh and level up. Today, we have the one, the only Drew Brucker in the house.
Oh, that intro, man.
What's up,
And
Drew?
and the intro music. The intro music got me a little bit hyped. And hey, like props to you. This is episode 46.
46.
That means 46 weeks in a row that you're rolling this out, which is not easy to do. Anybody knows that. So mad respect.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I know people can't see when the intro countdown is going, but if my guests probably watch me, I'm off stage and I'm just like, okay, we're about
Oh,
to do it.
you missed me. I was bouncing. I was like, yeah.
Pumping
Yeah.
myself up, getting ready. Okay, if you're joining us, start dropping in the comments where you are joining from. Really quick, we're gonna say hello to Billy. What's up, Cheryl and Mark? Thanks for joining, Mark. Mark's local down here with me in Boca Raton, Florida, where I believe it's raining outside. I wore my cloud and thunderbolt lightning earrings today because the weather's just been so bad. All right, we got a lot to talk about really quick. Everybody loves to know what we're doing, what we're talking about. If you're here, please share the show. Nobody knows we're live because of me. So share the show, get it out with the world. You all know you can ask your questions in the chat. Drew's going to answer your questions if they're appropriate. We always tell you don't ask anything inappropriate. Not that anybody ever has, but I always feel like I have to have that disclaimer ready to go. One day, somebody will shock me. But okay, we're gonna jump into it. Let's go first. Who is, and Drew, it always makes me big first, so it's gonna say this with my face here really quick. It's not me. Who is Drew Brucker?
Yeah, such a loaded question. Well, day to day, marketer by trade. I've been in marketing for the last, I don't know, 9 or 10 years of my career. Prior to that, I was in sales. So, really, I think like a half and half sales and marketing experience to this point, primarily in the SaaS and technology space. And so that's where I've spent most of my time working in the startup environment on small teams, working on projects both strategically and tactically, and building and creating companies and brands from the ground up. And so that's where I've spent most of my career journey as of late. And then, obviously we're going to talk about this today a lot, but AI, and I've really embraced it, in terms of my personal and professional life, because I think the more that I can immerse myself in it, the more value I can bring on both sides of that equation, as well as the faster I can sort of flatten this learning curve. And so, we'll jump into that. But I think, on the professional side, that's me. I've also done some photography and design in the past too, which are huge passions of mine. I'm married. I have twin girls. And, I'm living the suburb life here in Atlanta, Georgia. So
Love it. Love it. Okay, so you said a few things. I'm going to ask you. You were in sales and now you're in marketing, right? You've done both. Should sales report to marketing? Should marketing report to sales? Who's who? Come on.
Oh, can't we just play nice?
Listen, I just think we should all play in the sandbox together, but I do think this is an interesting question. You don't have to answer it.
Yeah, no, I do too. If I had more time to think on that, I might give you a different answer. But I think my first reaction is it definitely needs to be more of a collaborative function, and probably the same function, if anything else. I mean, if we want to get really existential with it, right? Like, we just came up with the term sales and marketing, and this was a defined structure that somebody said, hey, this makes sense. Does that mean it's definitive and right and objectively correct across the board? I don't know, but I know that marketing has a job that correlates very closely to sales and vice versa. And I know in the past company, my function and the sales function worked very closely together. And I think there are some obvious advantages that come with that, right? I mean, you don't want to necessarily play this political game or this credit game, right? So it's how do you align toward the same goals, the same KPIs, and then have the communication and trust in place to make things work.
I love that. So that's a great answer. See, it was great. You didn't need more time. It's perfect. Y'all, my light, like I have a little extra light here, is having a conniption fit, and like, I don't know if y'all can see that. Can you see this? Like, I feel like
yeah. It's like pulsing a little bit. Yeah.
I know. I'm gonna like turn it off. We're gonna see how dark it gets. Y'all, this is the joy of a live show. Let's see this side of my face go black. Okay, it's gonna be fine.
Bad. They get like a little bit of that Rembrandt lighting, I think.
Listen, I'm just not going to deal with something that's going to distract me from this conversation today. So we're going to get rid of it right now. All right. We got into Who's Drew. And the other thing you said that I like that I want to bring up, you said that you have a photography background, which when we get into the Midjourney thing, I think that's really important, right? I think that that's going to come into play. I don't have a photography background at all. I did sales for a photography company, though. This is where one of my like sales stories comes in. So I'm friends with a million photographers. You and I were talking the other day about pictures and getting them refreshed and all the things. And I just know a lot of photographers now. So I'm very blessed that I did sales for a photography company. But you know the other side of it. And I wish I would have learned a little bit more. I can probably like pick up a camera, click and shoot if you're like having your yearbook picture made and you're sitting in a correct form. Like I couldn't go pose someone or do anything like that. But all right, so we're gonna talk a lot about Midjourney. I want to talk about why Midjourney, but we're gonna do this hashtag Midjourney guide to win. So if you guys want to win this guide that Drew created, go ahead. Hashtag Midjourney guide. But let's talk about why Midjourney.
Yeah, and I think let's just, I don't know if everybody knows what Midjourney is, but let's just back up really briefly. Midjourney is one of the tools that exists right now to create text to imagery using AI, right? So think of it as the ChatGPT, the Claude, the Google Bard. That's what's happening on the tech side with Midjourney. It's what's happening with another tool called DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, etc. There's a couple players in there. Midjourney is my personal favorite tool because I think it's, at least in my opinion, got the best quality. I've adopted it pretty early on, and I think it is maybe the most popular tool to this date, more popular than DALL-E. Stable Diffusion's the other one. But essentially, what this tool does is why we're here, right? Like a lot of us are talking about AI at a very surface level. But AI can solve a lot of problems, right? But having it solve the right problems, the ones that make sense, are really where you need to drill down, right? Because we could come up with 1,000 ways to use AI, but is that the best way to save time or save money, or save from compromises along the way? So I think you have to ask that question. But Midjourney specifically, or this capability that it has, solves a huge problem, right? So if you think about it like this, from a marketing or even a sales standpoint, the photography that you have on your website, your ad creative, et cetera, where are you getting that? Stock photography site, Canva, professional photographer, right? Like there are only so many choices that you have. On one side of the spectrum, if stock photography is the answer, it's painful, soulless. You got to dig through pages to find images that kind of look like your brand, kind of. On the other side, right? Assuming you're not Lauren and you've got all these photography hookups, you could go out and find a photographer, put out a scope of work, the location, the kind of shoots that they're going to have, like the angles that you want to capture, the scenes, the people, right? Are there going to be people in the photos? Are they available? They're going to sign waivers. How long is it going to take to get mock-ups back, right? So there are two ends of that spectrum. And then there's this middle ground that I think has now really opened itself up with something like AI, because you can basically leverage both aspects of those sides of the spectrum in a much more efficient way, faster, cheaper, and without compromises, really, right? So I could go in a tool like Midjourney, describe an image I want, any image, it could be any style, any sort of visual element, and I can create it and I can play with it on the spot. And depending, right, like how comfortable you are with the tool, you could spin up something in a matter of minutes, right? That you could use on your website, on your ad creative, in your sales collateral, in your campaigns, in your slide presentations. Like the use cases are infinite. And that's just a few examples on the B2B side, right? We're not even talking about B2C, product photography, photo photography. There are just so many examples of how that can be used. So it's an important conversation.
100%. So I love that you kind of gave a breakdown of to what it is, right? And why Midjourney specifically. I've played with all of them, right? I do think Midjourney has the best capabilities. I've definitely not played with it nearly as much as you have, right? I was telling somebody when I was telling them about like because I have your cheat sheet and the guide, right? I was telling somebody, I'm like, everything here is so advanced compared to a prompt that I would put in, and we would get such drastically different results. So I know I want to talk about that in the show, but it's really intriguing that AI will help us, but it will not replace us. We still have to be the ones to feed it, to train it, to guide it, to give us what we need. So I definitely don't think AI is going to take over the world, but that was one of the topics. So for the people who are worried
Yeah.
a little bit about that, what do you say to the people who think AI is taking over the world and jobs and all of those things right now?
Yeah, so if you're thinking about like a Terminator type scenario here, I think just make sure you put in please and thanks in your prompts, so that way when the day comes, the robots will forgive you, they'll spare you, they will, but I don't know. I mean, we none of us know. I mean, even the people that are deeply embedded in building out these products, to a large degree don't know, right? And I think that's why this innovation, but also thoughtfulness and foresight behind what this is going to bring is just critically important. I think a lot of this stuff happened so quickly too, and got released to the public. It's like, wait a minute, how do we slow this down a minute? Because a lot of these things don't even have regulations yet. Specifically when we talk about something on the imagery side, like Midjourney, I know one of the debates, right, is with Midjourney. Midjourney scraped the web for all these images to be able to learn and teach this model certain styles of photography or illustrations or whatever it is, right? Some of those things were free use. Some of those things were copyrighted images. Now you can't create one for one, those copywritten images, but it did help train the model, right? So there's the whole debate of, hey, is this like infringing on, people's rights? Like if you create an AI image, is that able to be copyrighted? Like there are just so many questions that still have to be figured out. And there has been some, progress on that, but a lot of us just don't know yet, right? And that's just the reality we have to live in.
Yeah. And there's a lot of questions, right? That's the thing. Somebody asked me today, like, do you own an image if you create it in Midjourney? Like, do you own it? Can you just go advertise with it? I was like, I don't know. I'll ask Drew.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that. I mean, I can give everybody probably like 90% of the way there, which is as much as I know, which is if you are a paid Midjourney user, anything that you create is yours in Midjourney. Now, where you could potentially get into a little bit of a gray area, which is, hey, if I'm going to use this for financial gain or commercialization, well, maybe there are certain things you want to, I guess, have a foresight about, which is if Midjourney does get sued, right? Like what effect does that potentially have on you? I don't think it comes back to the person. However, what you could do to be safe is a couple things. One, like I just said, this model is trained on particular artists, directors, photographers' styles. So you can describe those styles using keywords, which is the longer way. Or, right, if you want to use less keywords and you want a particular style, you could put in that person's name, he or she's name. You could get, pretty close in some ways to a certain style or look or feel. And I think then it's where you get to this point of, well, hey, if we're going to use this for financial gain, let's probably not put any brands' names in there. Let's not put any photographers' names, artists' names, directors' names, right? Because who knows what could come down. But that's just sort of a way to be a little bit safe about it. The other thing I would just recommend, right, is follow the precedents, any articles that you see coming out on these. A lot of these cases and information is coming out in real time. And you could always consult with a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. But I think, at least when I was really searching around for lawyers with information around this, even just 30, 60 days ago, there wasn't a lot of information out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Jared had a question about suing somebody for taking your content. Jared, I don't know. I don't even know if the lawyers know right now. It's all so new.
Now with Midjourney, Well, I guess with really any of these AI tools, like I could create an image in Midjourney. Technically, Jared could see that image, save it, he could use it because there's no rule in place, right, where AI images are copyrighted because there's this idea that hey, a human has to be involved in some sort of part of the creation, and that's not covered in the prompt, right? So like maybe what I would do is I would take that out of Midjourney, throw it into something like Photoshop, something like that, right? I've created a very particular and uniqueness on top of that where a human element's involved. Now maybe becomes a different story, but again, it's a gray area right now.
So many gray areas. Such a weird like time to be living in. I feel like it's like when the
Yeah.
internet first came out and nobody knew what to do with anything. It's like AI is just really getting integrated and people are like, "Ooh, it's kind of scary." It's like when Y2K came and everybody thought the world was gonna like, y'all, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
What was it?
Um,
Well, the Y2K thing, it was like bank accounts are gonna freeze, your computer's gonna blow up.
oh yeah. My mother worked in telecommunications. Everybody thought everything was gonna end. And I remember spending Y2K at her office with her. She had to work overnight that night. Um, the things we remember as a child,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, next topic we're gonna get into. I'm excited to talk about this one. We're gonna talk about AI text to imagery. We're talking about the way it's gonna shake up brands, the way brands are thinking about their visual identities and the way they're going to use AI to do this. So, Drew, I'm going to let you kind of take it away. But where do you think this is headed?
Yeah, let me go back to let me start with what we talked about where this space exists, right? I think we're all kind of looking for a way to visually separate ourselves and become a little bit different as brands. I mean, I know marketers spend a lot more time thinking about this type of thing, but we've all been to other websites that use the same pictures of the same people. We're like, yeah, that's stock. Um, and not only that, right? It may not represent, your ICP. It's being used elsewhere, right? And so it just kind of feels like, and it lacks personality and specificity with your brand. So, with something like AI, you can get very specific with what you're trying to with what you're trying to do. So actually, let me see if I can share my screen here, and I'll just show you something very briefly. Okay, so one of the things that we did at Lasso was start to think about how we could define our imagery. Lauren, you can see this, correct?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay, perfect. So, like in the live event production space, there are not a lot of stock, photos out there. Not only that, like where these people do their jobs, they're dark, it's not well lit, there's nobody else in the venue before and after the show. People aren't even allowed in, right? And so these are really difficult spots to get pictures, right, of your actual audience and the people that use your tools. And so one thing I drilled down into was I started to use Midjourney more for fun at first, right? For the photography side. I'm always fascinated with that. So I started to kind of mess around with it. And there was this inflection point with the quality that took place with Midjourney. It kind of went from this spot where, hey, this is fun and this is cool. And it jumped with a version that it released where it's like, oh, the quality now is good enough to use this. It's got utility, right? And so I started using and testing prompts to try to facilitate and create images that felt like us, right? Like our brand colors were black and yellow. They're in these venues, right? Like where live shows are taking place. They've got cameras, audio equipment, video. There's crowds. There's a mood and a feel and a scenic atmosphere to these things. And so, how do you recreate that? And so, started to drill down in that and really built out sort of an entire branded library for us to use right across our presentations, our social, our ad creative, our website, our case studies, like anything that you could think of. And so everything starts to feel very, very cohesive, right? Like this was just a snapshot, for example, of, some of the different looks that we were able to create from this, right? Like photos of the people, what they look like, how they dress, right? They're all in black, non-branded, there's no words on the shirt, right? Like these dark settings, but we wanted to change something like the lighting to interpret sort of this feel of Lasso with the yellow. And so this is where it really starts to become super interesting. And this was a particular campaign that we did for our customers, where we had a live event, and everything in purple on the left side was really helped and aided by the use of an LLM like ChatGPT, where we're able to prompt effectively and create copy. And then this on the right was an image that we created in Midjourney and then utilized that throughout the campaign. So you saw images like this in all of the things leading up to this event. You saw it in the slide presentations that we did, the swag that we created for the event. And so this entire campaign took shape, and 80 to 90% of the work was done by AI. So super interesting. Last thing I'll just show you here was just sort of this flow chart I put together a little while back, right? Where you're just thinking about these things that come into play with your images. Do you have a quick deadline? Yes or no? Do you have a tight budget? Do you have tolerance for imperfections in the photo? Does it need to be unique, right? And so this can maybe guide your judgment a little bit in terms of maybe the best option to use in that particular use case. But I think this image is probably going to be old in a matter of a month or two, because stock photos are going to evolve as well, right? Like I think stock photography as we know it is dead, but I think they're going to pivot and evolve as well. So I don't know. Does that sort of help answer a little bit of the questions there, Lauren?
I think 100% it helps, and it shows a real life example, right? Realistically, in terms of, you said what, 70 to 80% of that you think was done with AI? There we go. You said you think what, 70 to 80% of that was done with AI?
Yeah. In terms of the ultimate output, right? Like the output of what happened. But of course, like to get good prompts on ChatGPT, to put in good prompts to get in Midjourney, it still requires the input, right? So AI did the heavy lifting in terms of the output, but you still, the human component still has to do the input, right? So that's important to mention. But yeah, like that's a real life example of AI coming into place from not only the copy and the words, but the visual component as well.
I love it. And I think that if you, like, unless you live under a rock, if you've been on the internet lately, you've seen a lot of the comparison of pictures from 3 months ago versus what they are now. And they're night and day.
I have one of those on my slides too, I think.
It looks like my toddler drew one.
Yeah.
And then an artist drew the other one. If you're watching, don't forget #Midjourney guide to win. Drew, tell us a little bit about the guide that you created.
Yeah. So like with what we've talked about, just like with ChatGPT, this and AI in general, let's be honest, it's not a one for one. You can just show up and you're going to create great stuff right off the bat. It takes reps. It takes there is a learning curve, right? It takes time to understand the tool, how to manipulate it, how to leverage it, the tactical knowledge of what's capable in the tool. And then, once you have that tactical knowledge, you can use it a little bit more creatively or strategically. So this is no different. With the guide that I created, I tried to take a step back and look at it from somebody that hasn't been around photography, maybe hasn't had a particular eye or skill set to know what to look for in creating an image, may not know how to build a prompt to get good results, and all of the different imaginative keywords that you can use to leverage to create great photos. I think it's not hard to create images in Midjourney. It's hard to create great images in Midjourney, right? So that's where the difference lies. And with this guide, I was really hoping to flatten the learning curve for a lot of people and expedite people's path forward, and also throw down like a nice bridge for a lot of people to get on board, because, the way Midjourney is set up right now, it's through Discord. Midjourney is building out its own website and own UI, where it will be a little bit easier to become integrated with using it. But right now, that's also a hurdle, right? Because I'm guessing 4 out of 5 of us maybe in here aren't great at using Discord, or haven't spent a lot of time in there. I know I had. And so you not only have to learn Midjourney, but you have to know how to get into Discord, and, how do I use this thing? And so it's a little bit of a higher barrier to entry. And so with this, it's really trying to lay down that bridge for people to start using this, it becoming more of a habit and a function. They start to see small wins, and then it turns into momentum for them to start creating and implementing this in their personal or professional lives.
I love it. I think you're going to give us a real life example at the end of the show too, maybe.
Yeah, we can jump into that.
Oh, awesome. So one of the things you said that I think is super important, because listen, let's be honest, I'm a recruiter. I got a lot of people who watch this show who are looking for jobs too. Did you guys hear Drew talk about keywords? Keywords, how you have to use the right keywords. If you're looking for a job, the same thing's true on your resume. And when you go work with someone who's a resume writer or a career coach or something like that, they help you understand what keywords you should be using, right? To get the interviews. So I just thought it was very interesting and intriguing. And also, when you first start writing your resume, you suck at it and your resume is not too good in the beginning. And then you get better at it with more practice and tweaking and things like that. So just like Drew said, like if you get into Midjourney and the first few things you create come out and you're like, this is not anything like what I was looking for, don't give up. Keep trying new things, tweak your prompts, tweak what you're doing. Drew will give you more on that, but don't just think that because you tried one time and it didn't work out, it's not the right thing. I literally have, and I know this is a little bit back and forth, but I have a client a few weeks ago who applied for a job a second time after getting rejected the first time. And then they got an interview the second time with the same resume, same everything. I don't know if somebody different just reviewed it, but don't stop just after one try. Okay. The next thing, well, we're about at halfway. Let me give Drew like 30 seconds to get some more coffee or whatever he's got going on. I'm going to show you guys who's coming up on the show. Can you guys believe it's episode 46? What does that mean? We have 6 more shows. 6 more shows, y'all. And then the Friday Live with Lauren show is getting a complete rebrand. We're not going to talk all about that. But all right, halftime. Drew, you go take just a short break. We'll see you back here in, I don't know, like 45 seconds. And we're back. It's about 3:30 on a Friday. You made it. If you're on the West Coast, it's 12:30. Hopefully you're eating lunch and taking a break while you watch the show, not working too hard. If you are just tuning in, I have Drew Brucker with me. He is an amazing marketing expert. We are talking all about Midjourney today. So come join us, learn a bit, laugh, level up, all of those good things we do here. Let us know in the comments if you're here. Katie Penner's in the house. What's up, Katie? Liz is here reminding everybody to enter Midjourney guide in the comments to win. Thank you, Liz. What's up, Ilana? If you need a wonderful virtual assistant, go use Ilana right here. Let me try to do this correctly. Go use Ilana right here. She's my amazing virtual assistant. Love her to death. Okay, so let's jump back into the show. We have 2 more topics, and then you all know we got our fun Friday fact of the day. Where is Drew? There's Drew. What's up? What's up? You had a nice little water break.
Yeah, nice little vacation there.
Hey, sometimes people are like, I don't know if I could do an hour show. I'm like, listen, I'll give you a 30-second break in the middle. You can do it.
See, I'd almost rather not have the break. Let's just keep going, you know? Like,
I hear you. But sometimes I have sponsors who need that.
Yeah.
Who need me to do that break. This week I didn't have. I'm not trying to sign anybody new right now because as you guys heard, we got a rebrand coming. But yeah, the halfway spot. Sometimes like I got to sneeze or something, and I need that 30 seconds.
Wait, how do you hold a sneeze though?
I do like one of these with my nose, and I ask you a question, and then I make you big like this so that you guys can't see me doing this the whole time.
So a Friday fun fact, a little bit early, I heard, is if you push your tongue on the roof of your mouth when you feel like you have to sneeze, it can kind of like delay.
If you push your tongue on the roof of your mouth?
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard if you have to sneeze, you should look at a light and yell cow.
Oh, no, I'm not that gullible. Come on.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding.
No. What? That's That's the most ridiculous
Because
thing
it
I've ever
takes your
heard.
mind off of sneeze. Like, I swear to God, I've done it.
But how does that work? I mean, because if you look in the sun, sometimes you sneeze. How does that
I
work?
don't know it works. Yell cow the next time you have to sneeze. Let
All
me know
right.
how it works for you. If you're watching in the comments, what do you do when you have to sneeze? Has anybody else ever yelled cow? I'd like to know. Um, Oh, here we go. Katie said that's the spirit that you don't even want the break. Yeah, Katie. I feel like you and Drew, y'all could match energy for sure. All right, we're gonna take the Fun Friday fact away, or people are gonna think the show's over. It's not over, y'all. We're still going. We got two more topics. We're gonna talk next about the advantages, if I could speak, the advantages and capabilities of AI. So I gotta do a little switcheroo again. Why don't you take us away? I know everybody's always worried about, ooh, scary AI. Let's talk about all the good stuff about AI and the advantages and capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit overwhelming for a lot of us, right? Because it just AI is all you hear about, and then the next thing like you turn left, you turn right, and then the next thing you know, you miss like 50 things with AI, and so you're like, how do I stay up to date with all this? I think that is probably the number one challenge I think a lot of us face, right? I mean, we're all busy, so how do you actually dedicate time to learning more about AI, the advantages and the capabilities to begin with? For me personally, I like the way that I learn anything is I try to totally surround myself with it. So what I mean by that is any type of form of content that I like to listen to or read or surround myself with, I try to take whatever that topic is and apply it across the board. So for example, if it's LinkedIn, I'm going to follow more AI people. If it's podcasts, I'm going to start listening to some AI podcast shows or find a few. If I like to get my news from newsletters, then I'm going to sign up for an AI newsletter. They're thousands of them out there. You know what I mean? So like that way, at any given time throughout the day, I'm consuming it in different ways, and I feel like that helps me speed up the process itself along the way because it's impossible to keep up. Now, the tools though are only means to an end, right? Like it all comes down to kind of what we started with, which is identifying the how, the why, the when to use AI to begin with, because we can all come up with ways to use it. But is that actually the right way to use it or the right scenario to use it in? Because there's still, should be manual work being done, right? It's just a matter of, hey, look, like, is AI better suited to do this for this particular task, right? And so the only way to know that is to experiment. And the way that I like to say that is, the way that I treated it at Lasso and the way that I would think about it from a marketing team is like, let's utilize it in an MVP format, like a minimal viable project and see how it works out for us. And then we can report on the efficiency, what we learned, right? And sort of debrief from there to know if that's the best use case or not. But I mean, I honestly think the advantages and capabilities are pretty obvious. I think where I see the most of the hang up right now is just sort of on the spectrum of AI. I would almost kind of bucket this into three groups, right? You have people that I would call tourists, which are people that visit AI once or twice. They dip their toe in, they're expecting magical things to happen. They don't know a lot about the landscape, and they either get sort of this hyperbolic or understated appreciation for what AI is, right? It's either, oh my God, or it's not enough. And then you've got sort of these people that I would call commuters, which are the people that frequent it from time to time, right? They're starting to play around with it. They know, things that tourists don't, but they're still not everyday users. They don't know how to maximize its capability. And then you've got people that I would call locals, which are the people that are using it every day, right? They're finding new ways to use it. They're finding themselves asking themselves questions in real time and becoming aware of more and more use cases because they've surrounded themselves with it. They know all the nice restaurants. They know all the people to talk to, right? Like they're living and breathing it. And so I think, one thing that I would say is, first of all, ask yourself where you are on that spectrum, and then ask yourself, where do you want to be on that spectrum? And we're still very, very early in this whole thing. And so now is a great time to jump into it further if you're wanting to do so.
I love it. And you don't have to jump into everything all at once. Okay? Like,
Absolutely.
If you've never even used ChatGPT, maybe you don't want to start by having to learn Discord and getting into Midjourney. Maybe learning some basic ChatGPT prompts might be an appropriate start for you. Don't feel like you literally have to climb the tallest diving board and jump off in order to be successful, because yeah, you won't be. I love the fact that we're using it more and more. I definitely don't think I'm a tourist. I think I'm like between a commuter and a local. Getting to the point, I definitely use it every day, but I don't spend enough time advancing my knowledge to, in my opinion, be considered a local. I use it for things. I do come up with great new things a few days a week that I could use it for, but I'm sure there's so much more if I really dedicated the time. So I guess that's the other thing I want to ask you. When you really started getting into discovering all of the advantages and capabilities and things you could really use AI for, how did you really define your time so that you didn't get sucked down the rabbit hole? Because I think that's what some of us do too. And I think that's why I'm a little hesitant. I get sucked down the rabbit hole, and I'm a little nervous that if I jump feet first, I might not come back up for air for a while.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. It's an interesting question. It's a great question. For all of us, our lives look a little bit different. For me, I'm just a very curious person. I love to learn, and so I view a lot of like my day to day is, hey, 9 to 5 or whatever that flex hour is, right? Like I'm focused on work, and there are components of that that's where my time and attention is. And let's be honest, a lot of us are in meetings or in Slack or email, and so there's not a lot of time for creativity on the fly. And I think that's always been a gripe of mine as a marketer and somebody that is creative is like the best ideas I have are not happening 9 to 5. They're happening from 5 to 9, right? Like after work when I'm walking my dog or I'm sitting on my computer at home or taking a shower or just in sort of a decompressed or quieter space. And so that's where I try to really focus my attention for other things that I want to develop and learn. And so let's be honest, that comes with trade-offs, right? Like I have kids, I have a wife, right? Like there are extra hours that I spend sometimes every day, sometimes every other day, right? Like developing those skills. So that's the reality, right? You are going to trade off something no matter what, but define what that looks like for you. And then what I tried to do as a team leader, right, as the head of a marketing team is early on, I think this was maybe in January or February of this year, I was like, guys, this is coming. So I want us all to spend time talking through this as a group, but also I want all of us to block, 30 minutes to an hour each week and just play, right? Just play with these things, right? And think about the things that we're doing daily or weekly and start to test and see if they can, if it's faster, cheaper, right? Like all the things we already talked about comes with less compromises if we start utilizing AI within it, right? So at some point you also have to empower people and let them know that it's okay to spend the time there. And I thought that was very important for me to do as a leader because I can't be in this silo by myself thinking about it. I need all of us thinking about it, right? Because I like to think very in a very democratic way as a marketing team. We all make the decisions for these companies. And so what we do on a daily, weekly basis, you're responsible for, you own it. You tell me what the best way to interpret it is. And so you have to empower people to do this on their own or, right, like make it super intentional about what you're trying to achieve as a group and communicate those things out loud.
100%. Communication is so key, y'all. Okay, if you're watching, let me know. Do you use AI? Like, what do you use? Is it part of your everyday life? Are you a tourist? Are you a commuter? Are you local? Where are you at on the scale? Um, Alana says that she has some clients who use it a lot like me, but some who are tourists. I think a lot of people are living in that tourist kind of area. I really, really do. And just to jump backwards for just a minute, Katie says that she just sneezes. She doesn't push her tongue to the roof of her mouth and she doesn't yell cow into the light. Mark says that he has a very loud sneeze, and Alana just sneezes as well. So if you're wondering about how people sneeze, we got some answers for that. Listen, there's got to be something a little bit crazy, or else it wouldn't be
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah,
Friday Live with Lauren show, because it just can't be super professional all the time. LinkedIn is a professional network, but y'all, we are more than our jobs. Okay, let's jump into this hands-on Midjourney tutorial. I'm going to move us. If you want to get your screen ready to present, tell me when, and I'll put it up there.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see.
All right. Can you see me?
Yeah, but let me try to move it. There you go. And I'm going to just remove myself, and it's going to be just you for a minute. Go for it.
And you'll have to bring me back because I can't see anything other than my screen right now. So, look, so again, I don't know what the capabilities or how familiar you are with Midjourney, but I'm just going to show you a very, very basic understanding of what Midjourney looks like. And, just for the sake of time here, stop there. But also what I would say is after the show, if you have any other questions on Midjourney, beyond getting started, whatever it is, just shoot me a DM. I'm happy to answer those things. So this is a live look into Discord itself, right? So I can click this. This just so happens to be my individual, what's called a server. And then essentially what you're doing here, and let me just remove this, is you're left with this space right here, right? So this little box down here, and this is where you enter a prompt. So just like ChatGPT, this is where you enter a prompt. The only difference here is for any prompt that you're going to enter, you need to do \imagine space. And then you're going to get this nice little black box that says prompt. Now, anything that you typed would be taken into consideration for the image to be generated itself. Okay, so for the sake of time and like trying to do this very quickly, I wanted to just kind of put together a very simple prompt that I've done before, just to kind of show you what could go into it. So a lot of what I like to do is around realism. Again, Midjourney can create any kind of visual element that you're looking for, right? So if this is realism, this is cartoon, this is illustration, this is oil painting, like anything that you can imagine that is an image, Midjourney can create it. So with that said, right, there are infinite possibilities for this particular one. I'm going to go with a portrait photo of a beautiful woman, minimal composition, meaning I don't want a lot of things in the frame. Cinematic dynamic lighting, which just means I want to kind of have a little bit of a movie feel in sort of like a dynamic element of the light that's coming in, and the colors I want just a little bit muted or desaturated. Okay, so once I've got my prompt in here, and this is, again, very, very basic. I'm not going to add any of these other elements that you may see elsewhere. Just hit enter. What's going to happen from here? And it's going to let me know, hey, this is waiting to start. Now, I will say this. When you do sign up for Midjourney, it's not a free tool. You have to pay for it. I think plans start at, $10 a month. So it's not a lot, but I think it's totally worth it, right? And what you do is you get what's called fast hours and relaxed hours. So when you have fast hours, you get these images very, very quickly, probably in like 30 seconds. When you run out of fast hours, you generate images and it takes a little bit longer. I'm out of fast hours. So this is just a relaxed image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that load. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to sort of explain what these other things that come up are, right? So let's just scroll up. Let's scroll up. So I was doing kind of this really interesting shoot around football, like the NFL, Gucci meets 49ers kind of deal. And basically what you do, right, you put in this prompt, and whenever that image generates, you're going to get this box of 4. And the way that you would think about this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So left to right, left to right. And that's important because under each of these prompts that you see, you're going to get basically 4 of these options that say U, and you're going to get 4 of these options that say V. Now, U stands for upscale. Now, upscale means, hey, look, I really like this image of this helmet right here. So I want to make it bigger so that I can save it and get the higher res on it because I really like it. So I would hit U2, and then what would happen is Midjourney would create that, and then I have that. Now, if I like certain components of an image, right? Like, so maybe I like certain parts of image number one, but I'm not quite sure about that image, or I just want to see slight variations of that. That's where I would hit V, which stands for variation. I would just hit V1, okay, and submit. And it's going to do the same thing. It's going to start to come up with a fresh box of 4, but that's based off of this image that I just selected, right? So it's going to have that kind of look with probably 3 to 5 different elements that come up. Okay, and then the last option that you have with any prompt that you put in is this, what's called a re-roll. And this is basically just means, hey, look, I either don't like any of these images and I want to see what 4 more would look like, or like maybe I like 1 or 2 or all these images and I want to see more. Like I want to see what more options look like. So you would just hit this and it gives you that fresh box of 4 using that same prompt that you used previously. Okay, so that's the basic functionality of any image that you can create. Now I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to see if my prompt's done from earlier. It is. Okay, so this is what the prompt that I put in. I put in portrait photo of beautiful woman, minimal composition, cinematic dynamic lighting, muted colors. Okay, so I've got 4 options here. And just depending on which one I like, right? I can basically say, hey, I want to upscale this one. I want a different variation of this. There are parts that I like, or like, let me just see 4 more. And so that's the very basic nature of it. And then let me scroll down here and let's just say we like 1, 2, and then basically I'll show you what happens. So Midjourney spit that out very quickly. Once you have an upscaled image, you have more options, right? So I don't want to lose you, but this is where all of the real infinite possibilities exist, because even just with these 4 boxes, you have so many options, right? I can upscale, I can re-roll, I can do variations of these, but now I've got an upscaled image. Here's what I can do here, right? I can do a very strong, which is more or less kind of like the V in the quad box, where it's going to take probably 3 to 5 elements that are different and apply a different look there. I'm going to do a very subtle, which is basically like maybe 1 to 3 elements change in the photo, which I can show you here in a second. Very region, which is a new feature that allows you to basically do what Photoshop does now with generative fill. And let's just say I didn't want this right here. I could just mark that up. I could take this out. I could add any word that I wanted, or I could leave it blank and I can hit generate. And what it's going to do, it's going to give me 4 options for filling in this space with whatever it thinks may be appropriate for that image. And then this is another super interesting element, which is the zoom functionality. So if I wanted to zoom out of this image, right? I like this image, but I want to like back up. So if you had a phone in your hand or a camera, you're backing up from this image. And then these arrows down here would basically mean pan. So like if I want to just, basically raise the composition up, down, left, or right, I could do that. And so I could just hit right here. And what's going to happen is Midjourney is basically going to extend from here to here and sort of in paint whatever it thinks is appropriate there, right? So let's see if we got any of these back. This is the variation subtle, right? So these are like the 1 to 3 changes. You can see she kind of looks the same, but there are certain things that are different, right? Like maybe her eyes or lips. Some look weird, like her eyes like way over here on this one, which I probably wouldn't take that one. But you can kind of see the difference there. Here's the strong variation, right? So similar look, but a lot more different than the subtle. So you've got some options there. And you can just see how many different pathways this can take you down. So Lauren was talking about rabbit holes that exist, right? Like you can get lost in here and you can get lost in here for a couple hours, but it's a lot of fun in doing that. So, Lauren, I hope that was good enough.
I thought that was incredible.
Like I don't want to go on too long because it's a lot to take in.
You didn't lose me at all. Okay. I was like, yes, and this is recorded. We can run it back. No, I think it's great. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, like it only being in Discord for me is something that I'm like, meh. That's like my thing. I'm super excited for them to get their own platform. But other than that, like even the slight variations you're showing, they're big enough to notice. I mean, I'm impressed. I was off screen, but in my head, I was like, I wish I could tell him to try to do this right now.
You could, yeah.
I think it's so funny. I was trying the other day because, okay, I'll if you're watching, it's obviously not just Midjourney, right? And I'm in Canva the other day making a presentation. And Canva just came out with their little text to image thing, which is not that good. It's not good. It's not good, y'all. It's not good. But I was trying to do a version. Don't laugh at me. A version of Princess Peach from Mario Brothers as a dental hygienist.
How'd that turn out?
Well, I also kind of wanted it mixed with the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was my prompt. I think it was my prompt.
No. So here's an interesting thing, right? Like we talked about some of the capabilities of Midjourney, but like for that, let's just use that use case. What you could do, there are a couple different options, and that's also what I think is both difficult but kind of fun at the same time. Is there kind of like different routes you could take to work around to get to that? One thing that came to mind in Midjourney is like you could take an image of Peach, you could take an image of a dental hygienist, and an image of, what did you say, Tooth Fairy?
Mm-hmm.
And you can do what's called blend. So you could do, backslash blend, upload those three images and images that you think you like the most, and basically it's gonna put all those images together,
Okay.
and kind of form something for you. So that's one way you could go about creating it. And then you could obviously, like, if you feel better about prompting it from scratch, you could do that. There are just a number of different ways you could achieve it.
I love it. So maybe this is answering Mark's question. Mark wants to know, can you add in your own picture to get AI variations in Midjourney?
Yes, you can. There's a third. I guess it's a third party tool. It's called. I think it's called Insight Face Swap. I'll have to get you the name on it. But yes, like I could basically say, hey, I want a man in a business suit that's in X location. Maybe it's just in a studio, maybe it's walking, whatever. And you could also upload an image of your headshot, right? And it'll try to basically put that in there. So yes, like I'm actually kind of going through a project right now that I'm starting to try to build out. I don't know if any of you guys know about this Napoleon movie that's coming up with Joaquin Phoenix in November, but he's playing Napoleon Bonaparte, and trying to recreate scenes from that. And on one hand, you can get things that look like Napoleon in terms of the dress and all that, but the face, right, is different. But I could take Joaquin Phoenix's headshot and start to blend that in, right? And it starts to look really like, the actual movie trailer or the images from the movie itself. So you could definitely do it. It's just a little bit of a workaround.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Liz says that when she was a librarian, one of the biggest skills she had to teach was how to search, what words to use, etc. I feel like
Totally.
the same skill set needs to be developed when it comes to AI, whether you're talking about Chat GPT or Midjourney. So, what's your advice to people who really need to learn how to search correctly and use the right keywords?
I think that is a great sort of analogy, because anybody can Google, right? But there are certain people that could find anything they want on Google and other people that can't, right? And so there are varying levels of, I guess you could call it, skill in that sense. So this is similar, right? I think what is interesting about prompting is it's not necessarily a very intuitive thing for a lot of us, especially like anybody our age or older. Like we've never had to communicate in that way per se. And so it can feel a little bit like fish out of water. You definitely have to get the reps in to understand it. But I also see like how much text prompting is going to come into play in the future. I think it'll always be a thing, but we're just seeing right now that ChatGPT can now see, hear, and speak, right? And so you could upload a photo and talk back and forth and communicate prompts in that way that aren't so text-based, right? And the other challenge with text-based prompt is just you're starting with a blank slate a lot of times. So do you have the creativity or the imagination to know what to put in? So
100% imagination, y'all. Imagination. And also, the other reason, like, why you need this Midjourney guide, let's be honest, is because you were not a photographer in a past life. You don't know all of the correct terms to use. I don't know all of the correct terms to use. I will say I have the cheat sheet, and just looking at the cheat sheet, sometimes I'm like, okay, which one? And I feel like I'm having to like question myself on the cheat sheet. Y'all, you need help too. I promise. And one of you are going to win this Midjourney guide. We're going to draw for that in a minute. But we did a fun Friday fact halfway through the show. We're coming up to the end of the show. I'm going to let Drew give us his for real fun Friday fact. You can't just have halfway show. So tell everyone. Hold on. Drum roll. I don't know.
Oh boy.
I need a sound effects box. I've been talking about that all year. Maybe next year when we rebrand, we'll get like a
little soundboard.
Yeah, I need a soundboard. I need something. I don't know. Somebody sponsor me and send me some shit. Anyway, go ahead. What's your fun Friday fact of the day?
Oh man. This is either going to be great or it's going to flop. But my wife's in the room. She just walked in and she knows this is true. But fun fact for me, I guess that I want to share that I'm slightly embarrassed about, but I think it's kind of funny at the same time is I was 35 years old when I learned that cucumbers and pickles are the same thing. I thought pickles were their own vegetable, I guess. Grew in the ground, grew on a tree. I don't know, but I definitely wasn't thinking it was a cucumber. So when I found that out, my mind was a little bit blown by that. And I felt slightly embarrassed of how I could go through life and not have found that out for 35 years at the same time.
Well, one, I mean, I giggled because I grew up in a family where there was like a farm, and I don't think my grandma grew. Well, yeah, no, she had cucumbers, but in my head, as soon as you said it, I'm like, pickle. It's you pickle things.
Yeah,
pickled onions.
Right. So I was like thinking, yeah, like that's exactly part of the confusion for me because it's like pickling is like a term. So I'm like, well, that's based on pickles, right? Like that's how it happened. I wasn't thinking that cucumbers were actually pickled.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Okay, listen, hey, y'all, if you did not know before the 29th of September, 2023, let Drew Brucker be the one to inform you that pickles are indeed cucumbers.
Please tell me I'm not the only one. And please be older than 35 when you find out.
Okay, if you're still watching, let me know if you knew about the pickles. Mark says that he likes half sour pickles. Sorry, not sour. I'm from Central Florida. I know all about pickling things. Yes, I am. Thanks. Yeah, I'm from Central Florida. Mount Dora in the house. If you know where that is, none of you know where that is. Maybe Liz does. Alana says, LOL, the pickle is the brine. Yeah, we know that now. Got there. But hey, I love that you at least laugh at yourself. I think that's like kind of the point of the show too, is to be able to just come on, learn, laugh, level up together. I'm so happy you spent this hour with me on Friday. Do you have any fun plans over the weekend?
Had a blast. Got some family coming in town, and I think we're gonna take the kids to the zoo this weekend. You know, like we did the aquarium like 6 months ago, and that was a big hit. Kids are a little bit older now, 2.5. So I think they're gonna have a blast.
I love it. All right. Let's draw the Midjourney thing. For some reason, when I let you present, it's not letting me present. I'm going to just draw it. Guys, there's few people entered. Let's see who's going to win. Is it going to be Liz? Is it going to be Ilana? Is it going to be Matt? Who's it going to be? It's Liz. Liz is the winner. I'm sorry. It's not so exciting and dramatic because I couldn't share it. But Liz, you won the Midjourney guide. Oh, look, one person does know where Mount Dora is. Mark, I know, been there. Cute town. It is a cute town. They're known for their antiquing. Exactly. All right. Liz, congratulations. Everybody say congratulations to Liz in the comments. Liz, I will hook you and Drew up. If you're not already LinkedIn connections, you should be. So I will make sure that you two get connected. This was so much fun. Next week, I'm trying to remember who was on next week. I hope y'all watched the halftime thing because I don't remember. There's 6 shows left, and
I think we're doing a round 2 where I'm diving further into Midjourney.
Hey, I think next year we gotta run it back, and we gotta be like,
we'll
all right,
we'll run it back. Hey, thanks for having me, Lauren. This was a blast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, if you enjoyed it, share the show. Let your friends know. If you didn't enjoy it, don't come back. See y'all next week. Bye.